Hello everyone and welcome back. There has recently been a colossal patch to Crusader Kings 2, some of you may have noticed it. Coinciding with the release of the Old Gods DLC, Paradox has given us a second expansion pack absolutely for free and has called it by the modest name of a patch. This patch changes many elements of gameplay, some of which, irritatingly enough, I have already taught you. However, at the end of the day, I think it's probably going to make the game a little bit better. I'll need to play around with it a little bit more before I can be certain, but I feel pretty good about it. But today we're focusing on one specific element of that expansion, and that is the new technology system. So we're just going to fire it up here under the technology tab. It's the same place it is as always. And obviously it looks a little bit different, and it does play a little bit different. You'll probably recall in my first mention of technology, I said that I didn't really use it, this wasn't what Crusader Kings 2 was about, and if you spent too much time in there, you just weren't playing the game properly. Well, it seems like Paradox heard me, and probably many other people judging by the sounds of it, and decided to revamp the technology system. I have mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, I do feel that it's an aspect of the game that if you removed entirely, you really wouldn't lose anything. And to me, that's not something that needs to be developed, that's something that you could just hack off entirely. But I understand why they've included it, and I respect their decision to expand on it, and at least try and turn it into a worthwhile part of the game, instead of just some flimsy add-on that you check maybe once every 5 or 6 hours. And in that end, they've done quite well. You now have a little bit more interaction with the technology system, but at the same time, it's still a back burner. It is not something you need to be thinking about too much whilst playing this game. So, let's check over how it works. As before, we have 3 categories: military advances, economy advances, and culture advances. Military advances relate to, shock and awe, your military. Economy advances relate primarily to your ability to make money. Culture advances, your ability to properly manage your realm and ensure that people don't try and stab you in the back. But how does this now work? How does this go up? How does the technology increase? How do we have more control than we did before? Well, first off, you'll notice these symbols and numbers on each category. The top number is the current number of points that you have available in the pool for that specific field. So I have 20.5 points in economy advances and 21.6 points in culture advances. Now I should stress, these are the unspent points. Below that is a number that will give you how many extra points you get per month. So I believe it's per month. Yes, it's per month. And like most numbers, hovering over it in Crusader Kings 2 will give you an example of how it's broken down. So culture advances is a product of our learning and diplomacy, and the tech points per attribute point modifier. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean, but hey, let's get fun with this. Okay, so we can see that for each field. Basically, learning improves everything, martial will improve military, stewardship economy, and diplomacy will improve culture. So a character with a high learning score is still useful, it just may not be as useful as a character with a high learning score and a high military score. So we know how we improve we know how to improve this point pool. We just keep playing the game. As time passes, we get more points. You can spend points in any of these specific fields within that particular tech area. So anything in the economy field, we can spend these points on. You can hover over the button here with the hourglass to see how many points you need to purchase the next level. So in this case, to invest in the next level of castle infrastructure requires 180 points, however we only have 20.52. And again, hovering over it, you can see the modifiers and the effects. So in this case, the base cost is 300, but we get a negative 40% modifier on that total, owing to the fact that we've already partially filled that block. Now, we'll get on to partially filled blocks in a moment. You also have the ahead penalty. If you're advancing too quickly, then you will find that technology costs you even more. This is to stop you min-maxing the system, and honestly, just don't even try. It's not worth the headache. You can also check the spread of technology, of this particular type of technology, in the map mode relative spread. I never really bothered that much with it, but I understand it's extremely useful. So loading the technology tree back up. So what do these spinning cogs mean? Well, the spinning cogs mean that that field is currently increasing on its own. None of these fields will automatically increase on their own. They all need you to spend points in them unless those cogs are spinning. If those cogs are spinning, that means you've constructed certain buildings which enable you to gain a passive increase in the amount of points that you've invested in that particular field. So, for example, church infrastructure, most likely revolving around, well, what else? Churches. Shipbuilding can be advanced automatically by constructing a variety of, what else? Shipyards. And so on and so forth. It's pretty logical. Then there are buildings like universities that just improve things across the board. Okay, so we've covered how to gain the points, we've covered how to gain the points passively, and we've covered how to spend the points. You can also hover over any block, and that will tell you what you get for reaching that particular tech level. And really, that's all there is to it. They haven't really changed that much in terms of how you advance these new technologies. It's just that you've essentially got a little bit more control over where things go than you did before. It's the same basic system, it just requires you to make a choice every now and then. So if we upgrade construction here, you can see that we're at minus 90% because we very nearly filled it anyway. In fact, if we left it for another year or two, we'd probably fill it completely. So it's at 0.1% per year at the moment, thanks to trade post bonus and settlements. We'll purchase it anyway. And you'll see the block is filled. We have construction 2. The local build time modifiers and local build time costs have changed. Woohoo! We're going to eat tonight. So that's basically how you spend the points. Now there is one other big difference. The technology system has also been simplified slightly in one respect. All this technology only influences the technology in your capital province. So just go over that again. This is only in your capital. It is not throughout your realm. It is not throughout your domain or domains. It is just in your capital province. So in this case here, Gotland. If we were playing as our old friend Uabrian, it would be Thomond. So technology then needs to spread from those counties and provinces, whatever you want to call them, in the standard way, which is through time, through spy masters, and through a variety of other things that I will cover again at a later date. But for now, that should be enough for you to be able to play a game and actually use the technology system and not fall too far behind. So that's me, Evis T, signing off.